GM. Today is Friday, 22nd of November. Okay, let's go. All right, Bitcoin is GMing. So ignore this path. This path is part of a lesson I did to explain something. It's not a prediction path. But what is interesting with this, these two levels, which you can see here, these are the options expiry levels for BTC for the end of the year and for the end of this month. And as you can see, we get ever closer to that big OPEX. So we'll talk about a few things for today. Momentum, what happens if we don't break out above 100. As we touch right up against 100 once again, you'll see that 100k is the major open interest level. So we have 90 below and 100 above, and 100 is the biggest level that we have between here and Valhalla. Above 100, there is absolutely nothing to 105. There's just a complete gap in terms of the open interest on options. Here we go. 105. So 100, obviously the big level. Now, if we get above 100, that's when you can see it run to 105. Like I mentioned as well with the psychological round number effect, you can see it blasting through. So if it doesn't, if we are unable to get above, let's say today, I would imagine we fall back below and we stay somewhere between 90 and 100 going into the end of the month until the options expiry. Now, if we went from 100, right, unless we tapped it, we went down to 90, that would be a 10% correction. That's a big correction. That's big. For this phase of the market, that's a big correction. I started to do this last night on the daily open stream, and I'll cover it and finish it more this weekend. I'll probably do it in depth on Weekly Outlook on Sunday. So a couple different phases of bull market. So that was phase one, obviously, from our October breakout all the way to our March top. And in the first part, which is where I think we are right now, we're in phase two, obviously. We're in the second bullish phase of this market. But since the election, which was the catalyst that kickstarted this move, which happened on the 6th of November, we are about 16 days in, so 2 weeks in. And when we were 2 weeks in over here, we had been trending up and we were sort of upwards sloping accumulation. Now, this market is moving much more aggressively. You can see this has been a much stronger initial trend. So the likelihood actually is that it will slow down and we'll go into one of these consolidations relatively soon with a bit more volatility because the market's moving. But in this period here, the pullbacks that you would look for from this peak to this trough, so from here to here, is 10%. Right, in the top to the bottom of this drawdown is 10%. And there are some leverage flushes in between, but from top to bottom here, you have another 6%. And on this dip, on this day from the top of the previous day to the dip, you've got 5% again. So you see multiple 5 to 10% dips within this first period. That's what I expect to see between now and Christmas. Something like that. Multiple 5 to 10% dips on Bitcoin, which gives the shakeouts for altcoins that get people wrecked on leverage, and they give you guys, dip buyers, a good chance to buy. Now, we already had a couple. We had a quick flush here on the Tuesday from the open to the low, it was a 5%. So we see this volatility coming in. We then had from the peak of that breakout to 93 to the low, we had 7%. So we've had a couple, and now we haven't had one in a few days. And we've been in this trending environment, and I talked about this on videos and on the streams about how trend days develop. And you have these green consecutive days, the market's trending up through, and we broke out. This played out perfectly. If you watch the daily open stream from yesterday morning, so midnight Wednesday into early Thursday, you'll know that we saw this all coming because of the VWAP. And the nature of Bitcoin through these trending days, moving up. Where's my BTC chart? Here we go. And I mentioned yesterday, or today, sorry, on the daily open stream, the timings are all over the place because of the nature of this fucking market. Watch BTC as its trend day develops. Watch for it to go as low as 97.1, 97.2, and then watch for price to move through the highs. If Sailor comes in and starts buying, but let's forget about Sailor for a second because the market moves however the market's going to move. First of all, you've got your opening range for BTC for today. So first 2 hours of the day, we consolidated in this area, moved up above it, held it, back down, testing it, and testing it again. So currently, Bitcoin's holding its opening range. So for obviously, for it to be bullish, we keep holding that range, we stay above it. That's all bullish. We open here, we're having a green day. That sets up momentum for another big breakout. And then when you take the previous trend day, the strong trend day from yesterday, as we see here, if we look at, let me get these levels accurate. Right on the close, that's what we had there. And we had, let me see this here. Just want to get these levels right. There we go. Just getting them right so they drag across. And these are strong trend levels from yesterday. We had a big green day, big expansive trend, and the VWAP is the lowest point you could absolutely expect to go. Should not go any lower. It should actually stay above the +1. It's going to go through the +2, through the +3. So if the +1 holds, the +2 gets broken, you go to the +3, and if price breaks above that, breakout. So looking at this, as you can see yesterday, right? So when I talked about it yesterday, when the trend day developed, what did I tell you? I told you at the start of the day that you want to keep an eye out for Bitcoin in its opening range, which it spent the morning in, dip below, it got above, and once we got above, we start to trend proper. As it trends through the day, it starts to develop its own range. And throughout that day, we saw a flush, a leverage shakeout, a bear trap, down as low as the -1, back to the VWAP, reclaimed, and close near the highs. That's the important thing. You close near the highs, you close above the VWAP, you close above the +1. It's a sign of a continuation. We continue immediately. Now it's kind of compressing. So is this going to be a day of trend? Well, by 1 p.m. yesterday, where were we? By 1 p.m. yesterday, we were here. If you look at the width, by 1 p.m. yesterday, we'd already had the majority of our trend move. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have these tight compressions where it starts the day very compressed and then expands to either side. If you look at many of these days here, they start off with tight compression and then they expand throughout New York session. Right? So we saw a bit of volatility before New York, and we saw a trend up. And of course, when we have some of these bigger trend days as well, you saw like the day we tried to hit 93, we saw actually the market moving down throughout the morning, and then throughout New York session we pushed up. That was a fail rally. That was because we showed weakness in the morning. And over here, this is probably what you're hoping for. This is exactly what you're looking for if you are a bull. You're looking for Bitcoin to hold in a compression all morning, which we've done, to consolidate going into the New York session, to stay above the VWAP for the day, and then once we hit New York session, trend. And it trends aggressively throughout the session. So if we're going to have the big breakout today, it's going to look something like that. It's going to have an absolute maximum of this kind of 97.3. So yesterday's VWAP. If we have a deep fast shakeout, it could go there. If there's a quick reclaim, you can see us then trend through and start to trend all the way through this range. That's if you get the shakeout. So the absolute lowest it can go on a shakeout and still be bullish will be 97.3. And if not, you're expecting it to hold here. And going into New York, we start to trend through this range and then break out if Sailor is bidding or whoever. Obviously, we make the meme of Sailor, but what really needs to happen here is you have to think about a couple of things. There's the momentum update. That's what Bitcoin needs to do today. If Sailor is buying today, because he just raised another 3 billion yesterday, and I've shown you on the order books how much is sitting at 100k. So at 100K, there is 700 million total. So $700 million up to 100K with 335 million at 100K. So between here and 100, there's 700 million in the order books. They're stacked to the upside. And there's over $1 billion. So there's over $1 billion to get us past 100. Markets don't move by magic, right? That is going to stay there. That supply is going to be there. Someone's going to have to come along and buy through that. If they don't, and there's nobody willing to buy or push it there yet, we will drop back. And there's not as much support on the books as you can see with the visual. There's clearly a lot more supply above than there is support below. That doesn't mean it's going to drop by itself. It would have to be, I would say it's going to have to attempt it. And attempt it with, especially with a spot premium for Coinbase, because you want to see, is Sailor actually bidding here or not? To which you're looking at the Coinbase price, which is here, 98.4, versus the Binance price, 98.3. So there's a significant premium on Coinbase over Binance still, and there's still a Coinbase premium over the perps. So Coinbase price is higher than everything else. That's significant. Very, 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 very important. Very significant. So as we look at this, you want to then go and see, has Sailor started his bidding yet, or whoever? Right? There's, Sailor's kind of a front for all this, but there are also, sovereign wealth funds, Saudis, Qatar. There's rumors about Hong Kong strategic reserve. There's plenty of catalysts now for Bitcoin to get the buying required to break through 100. But the question is just when. It's not if, it's when. And so two things you want to consider are what is happening here in terms of the spot buying to push Bitcoin above 100 versus perpetual futures. So I'll show you in a sec about why if this move fails, we can see a large drop because of the effect of people pulling out of their positions. So let's take a look here at Coinbase and we'll look at this, and I'll also look at the buy volume just by itself. Here we go. So what you're looking to see would be the aggressive spot buying. Let me see, I'll just do the delta. Yeah. Is there aggressive market buying on spot? Because the Coinbase premium indicates that Coinbase's price is higher than the others. Coinbase's price will be higher than the others because there's so much demand, so there will be a lot of demand on the order books on the limit side. But also here, which only measures the market side, you should see a lot of green, positive delta, as there is buying and buying and buying throughout these periods here to push the market up. So there's been no significant buying on Coinbase overnight. The cumulative delta since the top here, we have seen some positive slope to that. So there is obviously some buy pressure here on Coinbase, but nothing major. It's not just about Coinbase, of course. The buying can come from anywhere. If it's coming from Coinbase, it's going to be ETF related and Sailor related. And then to kind of contextualize this, if you look at the ETFs, we're talking what, like $1 billion needed to push it through, $1 billion needed to push it through 100K. Well, there was $1 billion of inflows just yesterday in the ETFs. ETFs are buying aggressively. Now that $1 billion of inflows yesterday was unable to push price through 100. So that, of course, is a sign of resistance. There is not just $1 billion needed to get price through. This is why people who look at order books and think that that's the whole story are seriously misguided. You don't just need $1 billion of buying. That's what's on the order books right now. But as soon as price rises, so I can put an order on in a millisecond. So as soon as price gets to 100, what do you think is going to happen? As soon as it's getting there, there's going to be another 200 million, 500 million, billion. There could be any amount as sellers show up, they put their orders on the books last minute, and then suddenly you need 2 billion. You don't need $1 billion. You don't need 500 million, you need 900 million. Supply can go like that. Supply can go on and off the books in an instant. You could have $1 billion here supporting the market, and in the one stroke, you can delete it. You can remove your order. Suddenly, that $1 billion is no longer there. Right? So this is the point. You can't look at these things if they're static. They're dynamic. They're always changing. So never assume anything in markets. Worst thing you can do. Now you see these large spikes in CBD. These are large market buying on Coinbase. So late into the end of the close of the New York session on, I don't know what day that was. What day is it today? 22nd. That must be Monday. Same again, late on Tuesday. And Wednesday, not so much. Wednesday, a little bit pushing into the end, but then off the open on Thursday. We had that push through. So here you can see the difference of impact. On Monday, the heavy buying was absorbed by the supply above. On Tuesday, the heavy buying managed to make a new high. So the supply was taken, drops back. On Wednesday, there wasn't much buying on Coinbase. On Thursday, off the open, heavy buying as we pushed through. That was able to break out all the way from 94 to 97. This is an example of when there's a supply-demand imbalance, a major one. This is where you would see, at 95, there's a lot of supply. Really? Pushes right through. Because someone's willing to buy that price. You have to understand, you might think 95K is expensive. Other people think 95K is cheap. Michael Saylor, for example. 95K is a bargain for him. He thinks it's going to 13 million. And he's got a limited amount of time to do this. So there's game theory behind Saylor, what he's doing. Saylor is trying to buy all the fucking Bitcoin. Saylor has created a plan to use $42 billion of his money he gets out of his company, MicroStrategy, through one way or the other, convertible debt offering and dilution of shares, which is the same thing, and issuing bonds. And did you know his plan? His plan with this $42 billion, it's over 3 years. The plan is to spend $42 billion over 3 years, and the goal is to accumulate every new mined Bitcoin. That's his marketing spin that he puts on it. So the amount they're going to buy in the next 3 years will be enough, at least the current prices are roughly, will be enough to purchase every new Bitcoin. Because after the halving, the amount of new issuance of Bitcoin per day dropped from 900 to 450. So it's 450 Bitcoin per day. That is 45 million if we're 100K. And if you do 45 million times 900, or just over 900, which would be 3 years, that comes into 42 billion. Right in what Saylor's planning to spend. So if he's able to get Bitcoin at an average price of 100K for the next 3 years, he will have every single Bitcoin that's been mined. Every new one. Now you understand the level of the supply shock. Of course, you can't do that because this is why price is going higher. Because when you have a buyer who's telegraphing what they're going to do, the market's going to make them pay more for it. Why sell Saylor a Bitcoin at 98 when you can sell it to him at 108? But of course, then you look at this and think, well, when did this game begin? This game has been well known for a long time. Saylor is not new on the block. Saylor first announced the 42 billion back in October. So that 42 billion came back in October. And when we're looking at it here, they announced it towards the end of October in the shareholder meeting. And since then, he's been able to ape in $1.5 billion, and I think 4 billion, and another 3 billion. 2 billion, 4.5 billion, and 3 billion. I believe those are the current raises he's done. And with that, you'll now see that in his buying activities, he's been buying anywhere between 70 and 100. So he's accumulating, tens of thousands of BTC all the way up through here. So he gets some below 70, some above 70, but below 80, some above 80 and below 90, and some above 90, but below 100. So his average price is going to be in the 80s, low 80s probably. And this is important because as we move, he's trying to get all the Bitcoin there are, but there's other people fighting for this. There's $1 billion just yesterday on ETFs. There is so much demand, so much more than the new supply issuance, that you have to find old sellers. And again, this is where people get it wrong. If you listen to fucking engagement posting Bitcoin accounts on Twitter. They'll be like, $1 billion of ETFs are buying. Michael Saylor's buying billions. There's only like 45 million of new supply a day. This is going to go to 400k tomorrow. No. The new supply of Bitcoin that is mined every day is not the only Bitcoin available. This is a game. So what about the person who accumulated tens of thousands of BTC throughout the summer? Because they knew what Saylor was going to be doing, because it's fucking obvious. He telegraphs it. He tells you what he's doing. So a smart whale will be accumulating, and institutions and BlackRock and blah, blah, whoever, traders, right, people more profit motivated in the short term, will buy all the fucking Bitcoin here. And they're selling it back to him. So they bought Bitcoin between 70, 50 and 70, right? They bought all the BTC they could throughout this period. And now that it's rising up and they have this guaranteed buyer, they're just willingly selling it back to him. And he's willing to take it. So it's a battle between the ultimate degen, Chad Saylor, and the short-term minded, profit motivated whales. The battle will always be won by Saylor in the long term, because he's going to buy this, never sell it, and Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. In the short term, the profit motivated Wall Street institution or trading firm can make billions of dollars by buying it at 70 and selling it back to Saylor at 100. Now, when that reaches a peak and Saylor runs out of money in the short term, that's when you're going to see a local top. And what you want to watch out for then is, how does price react at these levels? So, for example, today in New York session, if you see another really aggressive round of buying, let's say the CVD on Coinbase does what it did on Thursday morning, and let's say you see this strong positive slope indicating a lot of market buying pressure on Coinbase, and you see price coming up, and price maybe comes up towards 100, and that's it, we can't quite break it, and you see this aggressive spot bid, that's Saylor aping, and that's price not able to get through 100. Why? Because with all of Saylor's aping, fucking smashing in billions, those guys from 60, 50, 70, 65k that accumulated, they're showing up, they dump more on them. And it's a game, and it's a battle, and when Saylor stops, the market drops in the short term. And then when Saylor stops and the market drops, the leverage apes who don't understand what I'm telling you are going to be forced to close their positions really fast. And that's how you can see these fast moves down, and we will see this fast move to wherever. It could be 95, it could be 90, who knows. That's all assuming that it drops from here. So it's always important to understand, where does it drop from? One thing I'm confident of is that we'll see a 5 to 10% correction once this is done. And that will only begin after Saylor has fired in his last 3 billion. Now, it's not his last 3 billion forever. It's the amount he has for now. And he'll go and he'll raise more later on. And he's got 3 years to do this. So it'll take time. But essentially what you're looking for is Saylor's buying, okay? The Saylor aping. When it fails, let's say we drop today to that nice 97.3, which I talked about, and then Saylor goes bang, 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 and he pushes it, and we touch 100, and it drops off, and he's not able to do it today, and drops back to there, and you see that there was huge buying pressure on Coinbase, you see there was another massive day of inflows in the ETFs, so this is what to watch for tomorrow, I'll do on the weekend update. If you see something like this, we push, we can't break it, we see mass buying on Coinbase, we see mass buying on ETFs, we know the Saylor's been aping. That's when you're looking at, okay, where did we top? Let's imagine it's 99.8 or 100, we just touched 100. At that point, you're looking at like a 5% or a 10% drop. And that could happen fast, of course, the market's a game. So that could happen fast as people realize what I've said, because by the way, what I've said, people know this. Traders know this, so they should be prepared for it. Dumb money don't know this. The people who are just moonboy posting on Twitter don't know this. They'll think, wow, we're just going to go to 100. Magic's going to happen. We're magically going to go through. No. People are buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin. If it doesn't go through, it's going to drop back. And it'll come back to a point then where it makes sense to accumulate again. And that might be at 95. That might be at 90. We don't know. No. That's the game. And that's going to set up our first correction in this, first proper correction in this market, in this move. And that's where you want to be looking at your altcoins and looking at which altcoins have left gaps behind and where are those gaps. So you want to zoom out to like a 4-hour chart and you want to get on your moving averages. And when this happens, the first thing, this is alt season. This will be alt season. This will be the dip to buy on alts and not the dip to buy on Bitcoin. So the dip to buy on alts will be, where do they go to? Now, Solana could go all the way down as low as here, depending on how aggressive that sell-off would be. Because if Bitcoin drops 5%, Solana will drop probably 6 or 7. So if Bitcoin drops 5%, Solana will probably drop back into this order block here. I talked about this on the stream. Let's say that we push to the highs, right? Solana makes a new high, as Saylor does his aping, but it fails. Quick flush down, everyone panics. Solana then holds up and rips and moons off it. That's if the Saylor thing played out without working, okay, today. And over the weekend, you see a flush, Solana somewhere between 5 and 9%, whatever, and away it goes. And of course, if Bitcoin drops 10%, well, you'll see Solana come back into this support at the very least, and maybe sweep these lows, would be my guess. Maybe it just sweeps those lows. So Bitcoin drops 10%, Solana drops by 13. Maybe not even. Because this is where the dominance will actually flip towards the alt versus Bitcoin, because this is the clear sign. If we can't break 100 and Bitcoin has a flush, that's a sign to get into alts. Because if we don't break 100, it's not going to break 100 right away again. It's going to have to go and it's going to accumulate. It's going to go and do what it did back in 2023 in any of these moves here. And when BTC wasn't able to break through back in, say, in November, for example, when Bitcoin was unable to break out here, and then it sold off and flushed down to that low, that's when alts started running. You had this 7% or 8%, I think it's 10%, sorry, 10% correction over the course of a couple of days, and then that's when alts went, and alts pumped harder. Don't believe me? You can see for yourself. What happened to Solana after the 9th of November to the 14th? Solana at that time, between the 9th of November and the 14th, did this. Where are we? 9th of November, 9th of November, 9th of November to the 14th. There we go. This was Bitcoin's first flush. So on this day, Bitcoin tried to hit 38k, it failed. Quick 5%, sorry, it was a 6% flush. Solana had this dip, quick dip. What happened after that? Bitcoin bounced into lower high. Solana absolutely rips through the new highs. And then we have the bigger Bitcoin sell-off. Where does Solana go? Just back into support, back into the 50 EMA on the 4 hour, and then goes to new highs. Then the market tops out, and we go into a corrective phase for a couple of weeks. Then in December, we kick on again. And throughout all of this, Bitcoin consolidates, and Solana went higher. And again, you take on to other alts. What other alts were moving at that time? Injective. Remember, Injective was moving really well. And this is where you want to be looking at coins with their flushes and their Bitcoin charts. Make sure you check out altcoin requests from yesterday. In particular, look at SUI as an example of a strong coin versus Bitcoin. And so what happened to Injective at this time? Injective was actually already near the top of its rally. So maybe that's a bad example because Injective was leading the market. By that time, Injective's run was done. So it was already overextended. Bonk. Bonk was starting to move at that time. You get the idea of what I'm saying, but this is the essence of rotations. So you need to understand a little bit what's driving the market. This is why rotations are not just like simple, but of course they are very, very important to these markets. And on the 9th, there we go. On the 9th, when Bitcoin had a little dip and Solana had a little dip, that was bonk. Pushed down into the 4-hour EMAs, front random. So look at Bitcoin's flush, look at bonks. Just a really bullish sweep before a massive pump to new highs. And then that was the top. When Bitcoin topped and dropped down into its 10% correction, bonk came back, retest, boom, new highs. Consolidated, boom, up to the top. And then that was before all this. So this is alt season. This is what you're going to see. You want to see what is abnormally strong versus BTC. And so I'll go and look at SUI briefly. I would not say the SUI is like abnormally strong here in terms of USD. It's just consolidating. But against Bitcoin, SUI does have a good Bitcoin chart. And you see this on a daily, it's an uptrend against BTC, and especially on a weekly, it's an uptrend against BTC. That's interesting for the next several weeks. Because anything that can continue to trend up, make new highs against BTC, very rare. Most stuff is not outperforming Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin's the king and it's crushing everything. So keep an eye on that. That'll be very, very important. And so that's a little bit of game theory behind what's happening with. I use Sailor as an example. Understand, it's not about just Sailor. Sailor is the main character. So Sailor is the one that gets all the headlines, because Sailor's buying, $45 million of Bitcoin per day on average. ETFs, though, are buying billions across each week. There are also people behind the scenes buying more, such as the Hong Kong and Qatar and Saudis and all this. This will all come out in the future. But don't mistake as well. That summer period is when all of that was happening too. So in that summer period, we saw all of that accumulation. Many of them are accumulating during the lows. Many of them will be buying here as the FOMO rally begins, and many more will buy even higher. But they won't just all buy forever. There will be pullbacks. When the pullbacks come, that's where they're going to buy aggressively. So if they're buying, try push to 100 and fails, they'll ease off. It'll drop back. 10% dip into Bitcoin. Consolidation for a few weeks. Fucking boom, let's go. 90K will get absolutely hoovered up if we see it. I'm pretty sure of that. That would take it back into the daily bands. That would create a lot of panic. The more panic, the better. If you're a long-term Bitcoin bull, you understand this. This is why you have to have your long-term view first. Because what did I just explain? Sailor, long-term thinker. Countries, long-term thinkers. Institutions, long-term thinkers. And then the short-term trading, that like, whatever, some trading firm in Jane Street or fucking Citadel or BlackRock, which aren't really a trading firm, but an arm of BlackRock that trades, not the BlackRock ETF. These firms will be doing exactly what I said in terms of trying to buy it here and dump it here. That's their trade within this broader macro picture. That doesn't mean Bitcoin's going down. Oh, it couldn't break 100. I can't fucking wait to hear this. I can't wait to hear if we touch 100 sell off. Bitcoin can't break 100. It's over. You're all fucking stupid. Top signals. Did you not see the top signals? Sailor was on TV. Nonsense. Bullshit. Don't fucking panic when the dip comes. It's a bull market. Dips happen. The question becomes where from. Because equally, we can see all the aggressive buying that pushes us all the way through 100, and we can still see the same thing. Now, I'm still of the opinion of 10% being that drawdown whenever it comes. So let's say we push to 105. I would be looking at about 95 then. I'd be looking for maybe it comes back to this breakout point at 93, and that becomes your floor. And you chop around at it, and it looks like shit, and then it goes on. So it's important to know where your potential downside could be. This is not a call to short whatsoever. I will short it obviously if I get set up for myself, but that'll be a very short-term thing. And if you are talking about these sell-offs, they don't just happen from here. Like people are going to short this whenever Sailor's going to come in and bid, and people are going to short this whenever the market is still strong, no signs of weakness, has not broken any of those key levels I mentioned, and just frankly is a terrible time to be thinking of doing that. Now, where is my previous chart? Was that on it? Here? The fuck? I thought I had all my levels. Here we go. So back in, look at your levels. These are my levels. Watching them. First of all, as long as we're above 97, none of this matters yet. Above 97, it's all just consolidation. We got that sweep down. We didn't quite get the 97.3 touch yet. Hopefully we do, but we'll see. We'll see. And what else? Levels to watch. Done that. Bitcoin dominance. Michael Saylor all season. How many Bitcoin he buys? Which levels to watch? All where price return when he's done. I've covered all that. What happens if price doesn't break out? Covered that. And then you're looking at, once this happens, if you're looking at like others dominance, which is the dominance chart for altcoins that are outside the top 10, if you see all this happening and Bitcoin drops back from whatever, 95 or 100 to 90 or 100 to 95 or 105 to 95, whatever, and you see that the others dominance is actually staying around, it'll obviously spike down initially if there's a sell-off, but then it starts to move up. That's it, all season. And we're going for all season. If you see during a Bitcoin correction of 5 to 10%, you see the others dominance holding or rising, you see SOL BTC, obviously initially it will spike, people panic initially, and then it rips back up. You see ETH BTC, you see ETH BTC with this bottom strength, and then you see BTC spike down, but then spike up. That's all season. Then it begins. Then you've got 3 or 4 weeks of actual all season. Not this fucking fake outs that everyone's trying to catch all season 10 times a day. So GM to that. Exciting times. On trade of the day, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to talk about this open interest build up and what it means. Check that out next. GM.